Raising Josh was like raising a little adult. As an infant, we could wake him from his nap when our friends came over, and he'd smile, then go back to sleep. This was an early indication that God had given us an easy child to raise.
He was always comfortable in his own skin, and he never needed entertaining. He was constantly observing and thinking.
Raised on the family horse ranch in Lodi, California, Josh has helped in all aspects of the ranch. He loves family vacations, which usually revolve around camping, hiking, and biking. His best friend through life has been his sister Sarah. They share a great sense of humor and a very strong love of God, nature, and animals. Josh is deeply loyal and committed to family, friends, and pets.
Josh accepted Jesus as his Savior in 5th grade and grew up in the same church from the age of 4. While he was growing up, we prayed and trusted that God would bring him a companion for life's adventures. We are thrilled with the way that God has brought them together, having been friends for 5 years. Josh and Marla, thank you for being patient and waiting, knowing that God's choice and timing are perfect. We are so glad that He brought you together and are excited to see how God will use you to complement one another.
When Marla was born, the first indicator of her personality was that she was wide-eyed and alert. All of life was an adventure, and still is. Every stranger was a possible friend. Marla's junior year in high school was interrupted by tearing her ACL. She worked through a painful rehab with determination to cling to her faith and to rehab in as short a time as possible. As is typical with Marla, she used that experience to help others walk through tough times and to cling to their faith in the journey.
She's been doing just that for many years now through FCA. And through FCA, she met the young man that we've been praying for all her young life. We believe that God directed their lives to be here at this place and at this time, and that their shared faith would securely bond them together. That their very different paths that brought them here would enrich their view of the world and help send them off into the future that God has prepared for them. Marla, Josh, we love you. May God bless you on this day and for all that follow. Mom and Dad.
Marla and I met 5 years ago when she moved to California to work for FCA. I quickly discovered that she was amazing. I knew then that I wanted my future wife to be someone like her. At the time I was 22 and she was 30, so unfortunately for me, she put me in a little brother zone. She was in California for about a year, but we kept up from time to time over the next 4 years, and I followed her through her blog.
In July of last year, I was challenged in a conversation with Jennifer regarding relationships, and I learned how to start asking for the moon while praying and keeping a patient heart at the same time. Having arrived at 35 and never married, I've had a few honest conversations about singleness with the Lord. I've had to learn how to let Him meet me in that place. So several months later, when I referenced Josh in a conversation with Blaine, she asked me, "Why aren't you talking to this guy?" And it was then that I realized that he actually was all that I had been praying for.
We started texting and emailing each other much more frequently, and by 2014 it was dating.
I didn't know where this was going, so by February I asked Mark Parker for wisdom, and he replied, "You ask him. If he's the man of character you say that he is, and he isn't interested, he'll be glad to clear the air and be a good brother. But if he is interested, he'll understand why his sister and friend can't wait around forever."
At the close of the next phone conversation with her, she asked me where our friendship was going. She told me that she would be okay either way, and that God would take care of her because He is a good shepherd.
Yes, and the conversation that followed proved to me that Josh was just trying to guard my heart in this long-distance dance we were doing. So I said, "Pray about it then. Ask the Lord if I'm the one you're to pursue. And if the answer is yes, then pursue me. Don't worry about the jobs or the distance. He'll provide."
2 days later, after I'd spent time praying about it, I said, "Let's do this." We then knew the decision to date was pretty much the decision to marry.
So when I went out to California to visit, we went on a walk around to the back of the ranch to the tree fort. And it was there that we shared our histories, both good and bad, with each other. And I was floored by Josh's reaction, empathy, and then affirmation, and then resolved to stand beside me as I served the next generation. We knew then that this was going somewhere.
I moved to Atlanta in July without a job, trusting that God would provide for me. And 2 weeks later, I asked her to marry me.
So we'd like to welcome you to our wedding, but not just our wedding, our marriage as well. Thank you for sharing your lives with us, and we want to share ours with you too, because we want to live out what 1 Thessalonians 2:8 says, which is that we delighted to share with you not just the truth of the gospel, but our lives as well, because you were so dear to us.